Hello again. Welcome back to our Telecommuting for Success series. I'm back here with Jamie, who, as we know, is the founder and CEO of Smarty Social Media. And one of the things that's really profound about Jamie's organization, as I mentioned before, is that it really is a culture that recognizes the necessity of the balance between being an employee, being a team member, being a leader, and being a parent. And in these times where so many individuals have gone from working full time to now being full time stay at home parents and working full time, I know Jamie has a plethora of incredible information because she's built an entire company culture around how to successfully have this balance while being efficient and effective and also leading with compassion. So, Jamie, thank you so much again for your time and your wisdom. And can you share a little bit about the ideology of Smarty Social Media when it comes to this balance of, work and family life?
Yeah. So when I started the agency about 7 years ago, I actually started as a consultant, and I was an independent consultant that left the agency world when I decided to have kids of my own. And as a consultant, I had met so many other consultants that were in the exact same boat. We all had very successful careers. We were, used to working very long hours. And then, once you decided to start a family, you knew that that wasn't what you wanted, because you wanted to have a balance between career and your kids. So I started to kind of network and build a little mini group of other consultants that were in the same boat. And what we realized were, like, we called ourselves like just these like superhuman workers, because you are so focused on, let's get the job done so that I can get back to my family. It's no nonsense. And we became this really tight little network of moms that had each other's back.
How did your team come together to tag in, tag out on each other so that everybody could do what they need to do? Because that's one of the biggest things that I'm hearing with my clients is I need to be in this meeting, my husband or my wife needs to be in this meeting, my kids over here, and I know that my colleague over here also has two young kids, and there isn't a clear structure or process for getting the cohesiveness across teams so that you have the cross functionality of work and life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important. I mean, I have a perfect example. We were pitching a new client 2 weeks ago, and we always kind of go into it saying, okay, we're all gonna you take this slide, I'll take this slide, and one of our team members was giving her whole section, and her young kid kind of came up and like just needed her, and it's just kind of instinctually we all were like, all right, we'll take over from here, let her go deal with it, and we just kind of have to play it as it goes and just have like a little bit of understanding of what that person is going through in that moment. But I think the number one thing just in general is communication, letting everybody know, listen guys, my son is having a really rough day, like, can you cover for me? Or, hey, I'm going to be able to jump on this call, but I'm going to put you on mute. I've got to deal with this thing right now, can you cover? And I think it's just a lot of open communication.
So leading with transparency.
Yes,
Yeah.
full transparency. And I think that's really key. And I think as a leader, you have to let people know. I'd rather you be open and honest about what you're dealing with and let us cover for you than to try to do it all. And, it kind of all falls apart. It's not healthy for you, it's not good for your kids. So that's kind
And
of
it hurts the team's productivity too. And
100%. Yeah. And
my
I
team and
think,
I have two, oh, sorry, my team and I have two rules, which are, anything weird, let me know,
yeah.
and lead with transparency no matter what.
Yeah.
Because when I have data, I can be my best self in service of them. And we can do what you just said. There's a little bit like having an understudy. So everybody has enough knowledge of the slide deck going into a presentation that if something happens, you can shift and somebody else has the ability to step in and take over.
Yeah, I think that's so key. And, that's kind of what we've done with our team is that, like, very early on, I realized, like, I've had team members that, have had to deal with health issues or whatnot. And if you only have one person that knows how to do one thing, if something happens to that person, you're kind of screwed. So everybody
Yeah.
has to have enough understanding of what everybody does to be able to pick up if something should happen. So I think that's really important, that idea of transparency. I know that's hard for some people because they feel like, everybody's going to judge, or that, they're going to be taken less seriously. But if
Yeah.
you create an environment where you're understood, I mean, some people, they care for their fur babies just as importantly, and they've
Yes,
got to
they
take
do.
their baby to the vet. Like, I would rather them tell me that rather than try to stress
Right.
themselves out to do it in between a little break and not want anybody to know that they took their dog to the vet. So I think it's the same way with kids. It's just, hey, I'm dealing with something, like, I need your guys' help. And I think you get more help that way if you're honest than, trying to just be the hero and do it all.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think right now the hero, I mean, we know the heroes are essential workers, our frontline medical personnel, and it's also everybody who's staying home and making these adjustments and being in support of one another, connecting, everybody in a way is a hero right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd like to say that that's true regardless across the board, but more so than ever. And so if those moments of discomfort with data, my son's having a hard day, do I want to bring that to my boss? What I'm hearing you share is another really important tip, Jamie, is that the leaders need to be modeling this.
Yes.
And so perhaps even embodying ourselves as a leader. So as you know, I don't have children yet. We do have 4 beautifully frozen little embryos. So someday,
Good.
but my dog took off the other day when I was on a walk and she ripped the leash out of my hand, and so I was late for a meeting, and I just walked in, I sat down, I was kind of bedraggled, and I was like, well, hey guys. And in a way that was modeling permission for the reality of the human situation, which right now is across the board happening.
Yeah, and I know you listen to a lot of Brene Brown and read a lot of Brene Brown, and so do I. And I've been trying to bring this into our team for years now. And I think now it's more important than ever. There is a lot of power in vulnerability. And that doesn't mean like letting people watch you fall apart, but admitting that, hey, this is tough for me. I need some help. And being okay with that is the only way that I think you can kind of get through it. And what you were saying about modeling it, I mean, there was a point in time in this business where I wasn't taking care of myself. I was working 14, 15-hour days and burning myself out. And then the people underneath me felt so they didn't want to leave me hanging, so they were doing it too.
Yeah.
And even though I would say no, 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 I got this, like, they didn't want to let me down or leave me alone. And what that ended up with is a huge amount of burnout. Yeah.
And so having those really clear transitional moments where as the leader, we're modeling the sign off. My team signs off every night with a different, sometimes it's a motivational jam, a song that we really love, or everybody sends out a funny cat meme. And we know once that meme shows up in our shared text stream, that person's out of business for the night. No more
Like that.
conversations about patients or projects or anything. They're done. And that's as much for them to know that I'm also signing off, which I
I think
don't always, I don't do it as well as they do, but I try.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because if you think about it, you have to allow people to work in the space and time that works for them now. So that might not fall in the traditional 8 to 5. And, we were modeling this before this ever happened, because, a lot of the girls that work for me, they have to take their kids to practice at 4, and they're the only person that has the flexibility to do that. So I think like, we use Slack as like like you said, you have a text stream, we have Slack. And what we started doing was, you can put sort of your status on
Yeah,
your Slack.
yeah,
And I would tell people to either put down like what are the hours that they are going to be at their desk, and be honest. Like, if you're not going to be there between these hours, mark them out, because then we won't be coming to you because we're like, oh gosh, they're off. They must be doing something. And then you don't have the anxiety of people kind of pinging you while
sure.
you're trying to take care of something.
Yeah.
So I think that's really key, is just being really open about, hey, I'm here, I'm working, what do you need? Hey,
Mhm.
I'm logging off for these hours. I have to take care of my kids, but I'll be back. And that
Exactly.
takes a lot of the anxiety off of you if you can be, transparent about, like, I'm dealing with this now. I'll get back to this later.
Yeah, yeah. We have a shared electronic medical record calendar. And so we do the same thing. We block out our hours and our schedules in that calendar. So,
Yep. I
so
think that's so important. And because,
yeah.
you're sitting behind a screen all day, you don't have the luxury of knowing if a person's working. And then the people sitting on the other side of the screen, who are your employees or your teammates, they don't see what's going on in your life either. And, it's hard to know whether you're working or not, or and you have anxiety over people thinking you're not working hard enough. So I
Mhm.
think, the best thing to do is just to be open. You might not have an 8-hour productive day in this day and age right now, and that's okay.
And let's just
you
err
know
on the belief that we're probably not going to.
yes. Yeah,
Especially if you're now a full-time parent. I mean, so let's kind of review some of these tips and let me know if I miss any.
sure.
Um, over communicate, over communicate, over communicate.
Yes.
So lead with vulnerability and transparency as feels appropriate and comfortable for your team. And as a leader, really model that so that your team knows that this is okay. And, I shared a team meeting that I had the other day with you just a moment ago where one of my associates has a toddler or a 3-year-old. And, he's crawling all over, his dad throughout the team meeting. And it was actually really cute and heartwarming.
Hmm.
But it was just like, that's okay. That is the world that we're living in right now. So that over communication, being really clear with structure. So that's the second one. And when we're available, when we're not available, so that there's no stress if I'm not responding and I'm dealing with little Bobby's meltdown. And the leaders also know during this time that somebody's simply not available, and if need be, can tap somebody else on the shoulder to do a task that's that comes up that's more emergent
Yeah.
or emergency. And also kind of having an understudy, making sure that everybody knows enough about a project that somebody else can step in and fill in if necessary in a pinch.
Yeah. And I
Um,
think the most important thing that we've been trying, and this is hard. This is like we have to work on this every day. Even myself, I have to remind myself this, but is benefit of the doubt. And
yes,
if
huge.
we all give each
Mhm.
other the benefit of the doubt, oh my gosh, she's not responding. Hope she's okay. Reach out and say, do you need some help? Versus kind of getting upset and angry if that person isn't responding to you. And, because they didn't respond to a digital form of communication, sometimes pick up the phone and call, even though we're living in this digital world. So I think so much could be avoided if we all gave each other the benefit of the doubt.
I
Most.
think that's a wonderful tip to end on completely. And our rule of thumb that we have in our team is if we start to notice some less than preferable energy percolating,
Yeah.
pick up the phone and call.
Yes. Yes.
Just that's a data point for something feels off.
Yeah. And if you
Don't.
can't have that conversation verbally with somebody, then you shouldn't be writing it, because I think a lot of times it's easier to write these things down and then
Beautiful.
lost in communication.
Yeah.
If you can't say it to their face or
Don't
pick up
say
the
it.
phone, then yeah, you shouldn't be saying it. Yeah.
So use your words, not
Yes.
your thumbs.
Yes.
I think that's a great tip to wrap up on. Thank you, Jamie, so much.
Yeah,
And I know we're going to have another conversation specifically about Brene Brown, and I look forward to diving into that. So let's use that takeaway. Use our words, not our thumbs.
yes.
We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Bye.